So to everybody that's joining us, thank you so much for joining us. And we're super excited to continue to do these online events during this time where it's hard to actually go out and have events. It's really great way for us to connect and, you know, share something meaningful. Hopefully you guys find something interesting in each one of the videos that we do. And I know that I've been really enjoying doing this with everyone. So today we're very excited. We have with us Sarah Tritant. I don't know if I said your last name right. Sorry. Sarah is with Pommery Champagne, and we're very excited because, you know, Pommery is a great partner with us here at the Betsy Hotel, and you know, there's a lot of interesting things that I didn't know myself about this amazing house of champagne. And I think there's so much more that we can always learn from something that we just maybe sometimes pop and drink and take for granted. So it's always great to find out a bit more about the ingredients and the beverages that we consume. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to Sarah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Andrew. It's always a pleasure to be with you, people at the Betsy Hotel. We work very well with you, and we always are amazed by the great food that you do and the team and everything. So thank you all for joining us at the virtual tasting. So it's my first time to do a tasting virtual, so let's see how it goes. Hopefully everything's going perfect. So again, thank you, and I hope we will definitely taste some champagne at the Betsy very soon. Okay, so just for you to see how it's going to be during the 30 minutes, more or less, we are going to, well, I'm going to present you with different photos and different videos for you to understand a little bit more the brand, the spirit of Pommery, the domain, the history. I will also explain how you make a champagne, because some people don't really know. You know to do a wine, but you don't know to make to produce a champagne. So I'm going to go through all the process. And well, after we are going to taste 3 different champagnes. So for those who have the bottles with them, it's perfect. And for those who've not, you can definitely have a glass at the Betsy and taste and discover the champagne. So thank you again to participate, and I'm going to share first the first video with you. Be attentive on the video, just because you're going to see some images, and I'm going to speak about that later, about the terroir, about the domain, about the chateau, about how to make a champagne. So be attentive, be careful, and I see you in 2 minutes. Okay, so I hope you can see me, listen to me, and see as well also some pictures and the video. I hope you like the video. I love this video because you can have a global view on the Champagne and on Pommery and what is Pommery. So I'm sure you saw the last images of the domain Pommery, of the chateau. So this chateau, this domain has been created by Madame Pommery, and she constructed it during more than 30 years. Well, it was a very good image for our clients, for her clients at that time. And you saw different buildings and everything, and it was on top of 65 hectares when she bought all the land. So I just wanted you to see a little bit this chateau, because it was at that time and today as well a very strange and beautiful and imposing chateau domain. You can see the style, it's a neo-Elizabethan style, and at that time it was something very different. Just for you to see, to know, on top of that, well, below that chateau, we have more than 18 kilometers of cellars. So it's beautiful because down and below the floor, we have a lot of bottles. We have millions of bottles of champagne waiting to be tasted. Okay, so now you can see some images as well as we were discussing. So you have the cave, you have the chateau and everything. A thing very important about Pommery is the story. So Pommery is one of the oldest brands of champagne, and it was created by Sir Pommery and Sir Grenaud, who were working in the wool industry. And they wanted to create something in the wine, and they started to, well, to make some champagne. Unfortunately, Sir Pommery died very young, and Madame Pommery was a widow very young. I don't know what happened in Champagne area, but a lot of widows were in that period. I'm sure you know the Veuve Clicquot, and I don't know, we were like around 10 people, 10 women who were widows. So I don't know what they put in the wine. To be sincere, it was a little bit strange. Anyway, so Madame Pommery started to take back the business, and well, she tried to develop the sales and the business of champagne. So she did different things. First of all, she developed all the sales nationally, but mostly internationally. So she had clients in Russia and all over the world, and mostly in UK. And in UK, they wanted a champagne less sweet. So just for you to know, the champagne that you're tasting and drinking today is much less sweet than the champagne you can drink like 150 years ago. It was super sweet, very sugary. So those people, the people in UK, wanted something like very, like no sweet, less sweet than they can find. So everybody know the story, how you make a champagne, how it was discovered by Dom Pérignon. Well, Madame Pommery has a very strong and very important role as well in the world of champagne, because she created the first champagne less sweet. We will call that the Brut. That's why we have in our champagne range of Pommery, we have the Brut Royal, because we wanted to do an homage à Madame Pommery, as she was the first person to create this kind of champagne. So Madame Pommery did that, created the first Brut. She created this chateau, and as well she was very modern for her period, and very, you know, visionary. So she was a very strong woman, and all we are going to do during our period in the champagne is give her a reminder in our wines, in our art, in our domain, and always think of Madame Pommery as the best person for the champagne. So this is a little bit the story of Pommery. Just for you to know, in 2002, Vranken Monopole, it's a group by Monsieur Vranken, bought the brand Champagne Pommery, and now we are the group of Vranken Pommery Monopole. This is the second group of champagne because we don't have just the Pommery brand. We have also other national and international brand of champagne as the Heidsieck Monopole, the Charles Lafite, the Bricou. Well, we have a lot of champagne, but we are the first vignoble group because we don't do just champagne. We also do port wine, rosé wine from south of France, from Provence and Camargue, and we have sparkling all around the world because we have sparkling in France, but also in United States, in California, and in UK. So just for you to have a big vision of the Vranken Pommery group. Okay, so after a little bit of history, I'm going to explain to you how you make a champagne and with what, and two things are very important in the champagne world. To have a good champagne, to have a good wine, to have the best product ever, you need two things. The first thing is, of course, the grape. The grape, it comes from the terroir. It's very important. It's the first matière. This is how you are going to have the best wine. And the second, well, is the cellar master. So you have in front of you the photo of the 10th cellar master of the winemaker of Pommery brand. Is called Clément Pierlot, and it has been in the company for a long time now, and it's been like 3 or 4 years that he is now the cellar master. And his role is to continue all the spirit of Pommery and to do more champagne in the same spirits, in the same style. So two things very important, as I told you, the terroir, the grapes, and the cellar master. So let's explain a little bit how you make a champagne and with what. First of all, a very important thing, champagne has to be a wine from Champagne area. So you know that champagne is a sparkling wine. Sparkling wine, it means bubbles, bubbly. So you have a lot of sparklings all around the world. So you have some sparkling from France. You have some sparkling from Italy, like the Prosecco. You have some sparkling from California. You have some sparkling from Spain called Cava. Well, all of those wines are called sparkling. But the only sparkling who can be called champagne has to come from Champagne area. Champagne area is just 33,000 hectares. It's very delimited by an association, an organization, and you can't expand that region. If you look at the map on the left of the slide, you can see that Champagne area is on the northeast of France. If you want to imagine, it's between Paris and Germany. This is a little area, and you can have champagne just from there. So there you are going to find different grapes. I would say 7 grapes are allowed, but mostly we use just 3 grapes. More than 99% of those grapes are used for the champagne. What are the grapes? First of all, you have the Chardonnay. You can see it. It's a white grape who make a white juice. The Chardonnay is 30% of the total of the grapes. It's the less, I would say, yes, where you find less Chardonnay than the other in the champagne. And what gives you the Chardonnay? Well, the Chardonnay in the wine, you will have all the freshness, all the lightness, all the vivacity. Yeah, very something light, very, very fresh in the mouth, no? This is for the Chardonnay. What also you are going to find, thanks to the Chardonnay in the wine, well, you will have all the citrus and appley taste and flavors that brings to the champagne. After you have the Pinot Noir. The Pinot Noir, you would find 32% of this grape in the whole Champagne area. And the Pinot Noir is a black grape, as you can see, but it gives you a white juice. So when you press it, you have a white juice. This Pinot Noir, it's going to give you all the, I would say, the roundness and the strong and the body of the wine. And the flavor that I can find that thanks to the Pinot Noir would be all the little red fruit, you know, the flavors of red fruit that you have in the wine. And the third grape, who is the most grape in the Champagne, you have 38% of that grape, is the Meunier. Before we called it Pinot Meunier because we thought it was a cousin of the Pinot Noir, but it's not. It's called the Meunier, sorry. So why is it called the Meunier? So on the leaves, you have a little pellicule. It's a white pellicule and it looks like flour. You know, the flour that you put in the bread. And a meunier is, in French, is the person who will make that flour for the bread. So we can see the difference between the Pinot Noir and the Meunier because, well, thanks to the leaves, because the leaves would be with a little pellicule on white. Okay, so just to be clear, we have three grapes: the Chardonnay, the Pinot Noir, and the Meunier. Just one thing, the Meunier will give you all the fruitiness of the wine, of the Champagne. Now that we have selected three grapes, I have to explain you a little bit the scale of cru, if you see on the slide on the bottom. What is a cru? Cru or cru, with my English accent. Cru is, I would say it's a village. So you have a classification with if it's the best, you know, with the quality of the grape. So the 100% cru, it's going to be the best grape. It's because it has the best exposition of the sun. It has the best irrigation with the water. So you will have the best quality of the grape. And you will find those grapes in 17 villages, 17 Grand Cru. After, you have the Premier Cru. Premier Cru would be also very good grapes, between 90 and 99% of the quality. It's fantastic product, it's fantastic grape, and we have 41 villages. And after we have the rest. So just for you to know, Pommery is usually to try to have mostly the Grand Cru and the Premier Cru to give you the best quality of the wine. Okay, so now that you understand that you have three grapes and different cru, when we are going to do the harvest and when we are going to have our first juice, we are not going to mix at the beginning. We are going to press the Chardonnay from the village X, and in another thing, we are going to have the Pinot Noir of the other village, but we are not going to mix, okay? I'm going to explain why right now. Okay, now, just for you to understand how you make a champagne. First of all, you are going to press the grapes. As I told you, you are going to cut the grapes and you are not going to mix it. So the Chardonnay would be separated from the Pinot Noir and separated from the Meunier and separated per village, per cru, okay? So when you press, you can press just the same year, the same grape on the same village. Very important. When is it done? It's usually between August and October. I would say 30, 50 years ago, it was mostly end of September, beginning of October. Now with the change or changed climate, we are going to be more end of August, beginning of September. For example, this year, we know that we will have the harvest end of August. Okay, so we press our grapes separately and we are going to have our first juice, our first grape juice. We are going to have our must. This is the pressing. This juice, this must, we are going to put it in big tanks and we are going to have our first fermentation. In this fermentation, during this fermentation is because the yeast is going to eat, like all the wine, the sugar, and do the first, transform the juice, like a grape juice, to a wine, a still wine. This juice, this wine, is going to stay in this tank some months, I would say between 4 and 6 months. And after, we have the work of the cellar master who's coming during the blending. The team and the cellar master, the winemaker, in our case, Clément Pierlot, are going to, well, mix and do their little cuisine, if I can say, with the different juice. So they are going to take the juice from the Chardonnays, from some villages, Pinot Noir from some other villages, Meunier other villages, and mix everything. But also, they can mix the same year and some years before, called vin de réserve. So it's going to be a little mixture, a little cuisine, and is going to create the champagne. That's why, for example, the Brut Royal, the most popular Champagne Pommery, is going to taste exactly the same 1 year after 1 year, because our cellar master will mix and do the blend to have the same taste every year. Perfect. After that, we have all the mix and our juice that we are going to have in our bottle. We put that in the final bottle. In that bottle, we are going to add some yeast and some sugar, and we are going to put a little like Coca-Cola top, you know, a cap. Why we do this little thing? So we are adding yeast and sugar to create another process in the bottle, and the yeast is going to eat the sugar, and as it's going to be closed because we have a cap, well, we have all the process who is going to make some CO2, and the CO2 will create the bubble, and as it's closed, the bubble will be inside the bottle. So now we have the creation of a sparkling wine, of the champagne. So our bottle, I'm going to show you if you can see. We are going to let our bottle like this, horizontally. Why? Because we are going to have the yeast inside the bottle. And why? We want to have the yeast here. We want to have them, you know, at the same level, on the bottom of the bottle. So those yeast are going to transform themselves and they are going to create a sediment. This sediment that you can find in red wine, for example, you don't want to find that in a champagne. When you open a bottle of champagne, you want a clear wine, correct? You don't want some sediment. So what we are going to do is, as we have the sediment here in this part, we have to put the sediment in the neck of the bottle. How we do that? So before, we put the bottle in the pupitre. If you look at the little thing called Riedling, it's a pupitre. So a pupitre, it's to put the bottle in this position, like this. And before, we had some people in the cave every single day who would turn the bottle a quarter on the right and on the left to put the sediment who are in the bottle in the neck of the bottle to be at the end vertically. Today we have some machine that can do that process during a few hours, a few days. Before, it took much more longer, some weeks, for people to do it. In Pommery, we have the machine, but we still have these people who are very important in our house who do this process, turning the bottle, but they do that with the big format. You know, the big bottle that you use for party and for celebration. Well, they still turn it not automatically with the hands. So now we have the bottles like this. What are you going to do? So we have the sediment here. We have to take it off. What we do is we are going to put some ice on that. We are going to use some glycol, as you say, and we froze the neck. What is going to do? It's going to put the sediment in an ice. They are going to open the bottle, and as the sediment is inside the ice, with the pressure, because we have some bubbles here, the ice is going away. We are going to take out the ice of the bottle. We have that. And after we close the bottle, we add a little bit of juice of wine. It's called liqueur d'expédition. In that liqueur d'expédition, you can add more or less sugar to do a different type of the wine. After you put the real cork, you put all the label, it's called labeling, In Pommery, you are going to wait 2 or 3 months more, and after we are going to sell the bottles to send them, and for example, we can send them to Florida and to taste them now. A little thing that I didn't know. When we wait for our champagne, well, to do the yeast process and to have the bubble, and it's called the aging. We can see here that the aging is like 15 months minimum in champagne. This is a law, we can do less. In Pommery House, it has to be 3 years minimum. So I will explain that when we do the tasting with other wines. But just for you to know that Pommery do more to have the best quality that we can have. Okay? Well, I hope I was quite clear and I explained myself. I think at the end we can definitely have a little chat and a lot of different questions if they have. But at least you have the global how to make a champagne. Perfect. So this is the Pommery Brut Royal. This is the champagne that I explained before. This is the champagne that I'm sure you already know with the label, the blue label, and it's the style of Pommery. I'm not going to taste this one today because this one you can find everywhere. But I wanted to explain a little bit because it's really the style of the champagne. It's how you can recognize a Pommery bottle. So on this, the Pommery, you will have all the freshness, all the vivacity, all the light, because we have quite a lot of Chardonnay. We have 33% of Chardonnay. In the Pommery Brut Royal, you have 33% of each grape. Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier, 33% of them, a third. So it's going to give you a very well-balanced champagne, and it's going to be aging, as I told you, 3 years, and we are going to find in this champagne 40 villages, 40 cru, okay? This is the style. Now, we are going to taste the Pommery Apanage. But before that, I wanted to explain to you how to open a bottle of champagne. So I'm going to take off the share just for you to see me a little bit bigger and to open correctly the bottle of champagne. So now I think you can see me a little bit bigger. Perfect. So I prepared first my bottle, the Pommery Apanage. Pommery Apanage is the champagne by the glass at the Betsy Hotel. So for those people who didn't have time to pick up the bottles at the Betsy this week, you can definitely go those days or next month and have a great glass of champagne there and the perfect food of Andrew, of course, and enjoy both. So how to open a bottle? Okay, first of all, the thing very, very important, and please be careful because it's really important, never, ever point the bottle to another person. And I'm not joking. You can hear me, you can notice that I'm French. Yes, I don't hear you, but yeah, I think you know that I'm French. Well, I'm from Champagne area, and I will explain a little bit later during the tasting. But my grandfather, the grandfather of my mother, lost his eye with a bottle of champagne. So it's not a joke. I never met him or whatever, but my mother told me. And it's very dangerous because you have a lot of pressure in the bottle of champagne. So never, please, point a bottle of champagne. So when you open it, you take off the little label and you always put your finger on top because of the pressure. So if the cork goes, you will stop it with the finger, okay? In a restaurant or when you have some friends over, always show the label of the bottle to your people. They love it. It's like very nice. Mostly when you have some Pommery, you can show that you have some champagne Pommery for your invitees. So you open the bottle, always blocking the cork. And you turn the bottle. You don't turn the cork, you turn the bottle. And you don't make noise. We are not in Monaco or, you know, partying. We are some classy dinner and we want something classy, like a Frenchie. Well, let's try. Did you hear? Nothing, right? Okay, so now you can smell it just to be sure it's good. and you have your bottle. You can put, it's not very easy on the camera, but you can put your here and you serve. I'm not going to serve like this because of the computer. Okay. So with the champagne, the great thing is that you are going to use your 5 senses. Why? First, your eyes, because you see the bottle, but you also see the juice, very important. The touch, because you touch the bottle, and it's great, this feeling, not to open the bottle. So the touch, the eye. I don't know if you have your bottle of champagne now, but let's do that next time. You hear your bottle, your bubbles. It's a nice sound. After, you also have the nose and the mouth. So really, with the champagne, you use the 5 senses. Okay, so now we are going to taste the first champagne. It's the Pommery Apanage. Just for you to know, Pommery Apanage, it's not a champagne that you can find in a store. So really go to Betsy Hotel and have a glass there. Okay, so hopefully you can taste with me right now. If you can't, you can take notes just for you to remember next time when you taste it. So in a champagne, you know that in a wine, normally you turn a little bit your glass. You can do it, but just once and not too long. Why? You have some bubbles. You don't want to lose the bubbles. So you do a little bit just for you to have the aromas, but not too much. So you can see it's a yellow pale color. It's beautiful. You can't really see with my video connection. I'm sorry, but you have very nice bubbles. And you can smell it. You will find some butter, some citrus. It's something very nice. Well, Andrew, you are here. I'm sure you will enjoy. And after, well, you smell. And after, well, the last but not the least, you taste. Fantastic. So the Pommery Apanage you will have, it's going to be very creamy. It's still very fresh. I didn't say what we have in the Pommery Apanage. So I told you the Pommery Brut Royal, we had 3 grapes, 33 and 40 villages. In the Pommery Apanage, we have 42% of Chardonnay. We have 35% of Pinot Noir, and we have some Meunier. We are going to age this wine 6 months more. So we have 3.5 years. And we have only 20 villages. So we try to have the best grapes. Perfect. So I'm glad that we tasted the first Pommery Apanage. I hope the people who had it can enjoy. And now we are going to taste a little split.
Sorry to interrupt. Somebody wanted to know just the grapes. If you could repeat the grapes.
Of course. So in the Pommery Apanage, you have 42% of Chardonnay. You have 35% of Pinot Noir and the rest of Meunier. 20 Gru, 20 villages, and 3.5 years of aging. Good? Perfect. So now we are going to taste the pink pop. You can see first that it's a little bottle, it's a split, it's 187 milliliters. And it was created as the first champagne to drink with a straw or directly with the bottle. It was created for young people, you know, who wanted to have his own drink and to be cool. As you can see, a very modern and nice and young design, as Pommery and as Madame Pommery always did. So I'm going to open the bottle, and meanwhile, I'm going to explain to you how you make a champagne rosé. This is when my family goes in. So a champagne rosé, you have 2 methods to do it. First, well, I'm going to try to not do noise. Yay.
We did have a question about turning the bottle rather than the cork. And somebody asked about the reason for this. Is it just the presentation, or is it?
The presentation, and it's easier for your hand. Because when you have this in the hand, it can hurt. So when you turn it, it's easier with the bottle.
Let's see if I can. Yes. I get nervous as well.
You get nervous, right? So the rosé. Just to finish a little bit the explanation, two methods to do the rosé champagne. The first one would be the saigner, as the French word. It's when you press. I told you that you press your grape differently, but what I forgot to tell you is the black grapes, the Pinot Noir and the Meunier are black grapes, but with a white juice. But if you let some hours the black grape with the juice, you are going to have some colors, because the color of the grape, the tannin, is going to be in the juice. So this is called the saigner, and this is how you make a champagne rosé. Now, there is another method to do a champagne rosé, and it's mostly the most common method, and it's what we use with Pommery, is we add some red wine. The red wine has to come from Champagne area, of course. It has to be from the zone. And in Pommery, well, what I didn't tell you is that, well, you heard I'm French, but I'm from Champagne area. And my father has some grapes, and he has some grapes in a little village called Bouzy. Bouzy is one of the Grand Cru in the 17 villages. And well, it's very common in this village to use the Pinot Noir and to make a red wine called Bouzy Rouge. And this Bouzy Rouge, usually in Pommery, we use it to put in the rosé wine. So in the pink pop and in the Pommery rosé, for example, you have a little bit of me, because you have a little bit of the grape of my father inside of the bottle. So I'm always happy to explain that to my people. Anyway, so we have the pink pop. We opened it, and I'm going to show you. We add a little bit of this red wine in the champagne, and we add very little. In Pommery, we have very pale rosé champagne. You can see it's very, very pale, because we add like more or less 6% of the red wine. So what is going to have in the red, in the pink champagne, in the rosé champagne, is a little bit more of red fruit. It's much more red fruit. You really have to taste it. It's a beautiful, beautiful champagne. And it's fun. Any question on this one? Yeah, it's fun. So I'm going to finish with a little surprise. For those people who want to do different things, we are going to take a big glass, and I'm going to put some ice. I'm not the expert at home to have big ice. So normally it's better with big block of ice.
Why is it better with a big block versus small cubes?
Because the ice will, I don't know you say in English, swell less quick.
Ah, okay.
The water, you know what I mean?
The rate of which it melts is
the melt. Sorry, so the melt. It melts less quick, correct. So you should have much more here ice. And why I put ice in a big glass? Because we are going to taste the Pommery Blue Sky. It's a champagne on ice. So it's a champagne a little bit sweeter. Normally in a champagne like the Apanage, you have, I would say, 8, 9, well, in the Apanage a little bit less, like 7, 8 grams of sugar. In this one, you have a little bit more than 17. So, no sound? So it's very trendy to put on ice, and I will tell you, I'm from Champagne. I was very surprised. And now I drink that all the time. We are in Florida. It's very hot. You want something cold. You can drink that all day long. You can drink that like a cocktail. You can drink that like dessert wine. You can drink that all day in the yacht, in the beach, on the beach, all day long. So this was my little surprise. So the ice is going to give you a champagne less sweet. And in our brand, in our maison, we think that our product, our champagne is so good that we don't have to add vegetables or fruit. You know, sometimes you do cocktails with the champagne. What we think that with the Pommery Blue Sky, we need nothing more, just the ice. Anyway, I'm just going to show you a little video. It's going to be very quick. Pay attention. It's a little bit about Pommery Domain and the art, because something that you have to know. You saw that Madame Pommery was into the building. She did also some art in the cave. Well, Madame Vranken and Monsieur Vranken are very, very into art, especially contemporary art. And they started in 2003 to do every year a special exhibition. They called that Experience. So we are going to see the Experience 13, just for you to have a vision, and it's going to invite you to see and visit our domain. So I'm going to share my screen the last time. I don't know if you see it.
Yes.
Perfect. Let's try. Well, that's it. That was the last images about Pommery. I just wanted to thank you all for following that today. I hope you learned some things. I hope you enjoyed. I invite you to come to France when all the pandemic's done and come and enjoy and visit the domain. I encourage you to open bottles of champagne and drink a lot of Pommery at the 4th of July. And because it's, you know, just a normal day and you just want to pop up a bottle of champagne. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Betsy, Andrew. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm sure we are going to have a few questions, but it was a real pleasure to do this first virtual tasting with you. Thank you very much.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, Sarah. And I know that I learned a lot, and I see from the group chat that there's a lot of great comments that people have learned some things. So
Great.
Thank you so much. It's always great to learn and to be able to drink champagne at the same time. It's a very rare thing.
It's fantastic. And now we need to do the same thing now with a big dinner, Pommery dinner at the Betsy. So we have to set a date and invite everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody is welcome to join that. And we're going to absolutely work on that together. And it'll be interesting and fun for sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. And be safe, stay safe, and drink a lot of Pommery.